Tonight on NewsWatch, civil war in Syria, what the ongoing battle could mean for the rest of the Middle East.
Plus, winter weather in the heartland, the latest on the system bringing snow and ice to parts of the country.
And thousands of riders fire up their Harleys to honor America's veterans. We'll talk to the ride's chaplain ahead of this year's Run for the Wall. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. A brutal civil war continues to wage in Syria. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Heather Sells. The death toll from 2 years of fighting in Syria is approaching 70,000.
And today that number jumped by dozens after a bombing in the heart of Damascus. John Waggy has tonight's top story.
Once again, smoke billowed over Damascus, another sign of the death and destruction that have plagued Syria for 24 months. Syrian state TV puts the death toll at 53 for the attack near the ruling Ba'ath Party headquarters. The car bomb near a security checkpoint killed mostly civilians, and more than 200 were wounded. Others cite smaller numbers, but the killings are a violent answer to recent calls for both the Assad regime and the Syrian opposition to come to the bargaining table. An al-Qaeda-linked group called Jabhat al-Nusra, fighting alongside the opposition, has claimed responsibility. They say they've been involved in at least 17 other bombings in and around Damascus. This bombing took place near the Russian embassy as well, perhaps a signal to the Russians, who have sponsored Syrian President Bashar Assad for decades, to back off. At a Moscow news conference Wednesday with members of the Arab League, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said both the opposition and the Assad regime must prepare for dialogue as the only solution to the conflict. The Russian government conducted an airlift of 99 Russian and former Soviet citizens who live in Syria this week, flying them back to Moscow. The plane dropped off humanitarian items such as food and generators to the port of Latakia, where Russia has a military presence. Meanwhile, the Syrian opposition is threatening to attack Shiite Hezbollah guerrillas, who they say are fighting for Assad in Syria. They say they'll also attack Hezbollah inside Lebanon if necessary, something that could lead to a wider Sunni Shiite conflict beyond Syria's borders. John Waggy, CBN News.
For more on this, we're joined now by our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell. Chris, the civil war in Syria is one that has been going on for years now. Is there any end in sight?
Yeah, more than 2 years now, Mark. There is no end in sight, although it's likely that Syria will never be the same it was 2 years ago. Right now, there's parts of northern Syria that are not controlled by the regime, by the Assad regime. There's parts of western Syria that are controlled in part by Hezbollah. But the rebels are making incremental gains, and that's evidenced by today's bombing, that they would be able to penetrate security forces in Damascus. But there's no sort of breakthrough you could see on the rebel side to topple the Assad regime. So there is really no end in sight just yet.
You're in Jerusalem. How does the fighting in Syria impact the rest of the Middle East, Chris?
Well, it really does involve the rest of the Middle East. I mean, right now the fighting in Syria is the fault line between the Shiite and Sunni Islam. On the Shiite side, you have Iran and Hezbollah that are desperately fighting to make sure that Assad does not fall. On the other side, the Sunni side, you have Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey that are trying desperately to topple the Assad regime. And so it really does have, this is a huge battle of these two huge groups in the Middle East for who's going to control Syria, and who wins in Syria is going to determine the future and the fate of the Middle East.
What does all the violence mean for Christians in Syria?
Well, Christians right now are caught in the middle. Under the Assad regime, there was some protection that they offered. A similar situation that happened in Iraq under Saddam Hussein, where the Christians at least were offered some protection. Right now, it's a desperate situation for them. Many are fleeing. We talked to an author earlier today of a book called The Saturday People and the Sunday People, meaning that the Saturday people, the Jews, and the Christians, the Sunday people. And she was saying many of the Christians are fleeing. They're in a desperate situation, and it's really a hard place. They're really between a rock and a hard place right now in Syria.
Many countries have backed rebel forces. Do you think America should be doing more to help the rebels in Syria?
I wouldn't say so right now, Mark, and the reason for that is this, is that many of the rebel forces are controlled by jihadists. I talked to an expert earlier today about Syria, and he said that really the whole spectrum of the rebel forces are controlled or influenced by jihadist forces, from Muslim Brotherhood to Salafist to al-Qaeda influence groups. So for them, for the United States or the West to support those rebel groups now could be very counterproductive. We could be being allied and bringing a victory to forces that are eventually going to turn themselves against the United States, against the West, and particularly against Israel.
Once again, our Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, thank you for your insights and for staying on top of all of this. Stay safe.
Thank you, Mark.
And in nearby Egypt, there is rising tension between the powerful military and the country's Islamist government and president. The military has even dropped hints it might seize power again. Since Mohamed Morsi took office, the military has made it clear it will step in if Egypt is heading towards another political crisis, and several times has openly defied orders from the country's president. The latest friction comes after rumors President Morsi had plans to replace his defense minister because he was resisting bringing the military under the power of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Brotherhood denies those claims, and Morsi's office issued a statement reassuring military commanders of his appreciation.
The Taliban says it will continue to target Afghan officials and civilians linked to the U.S. This comes despite a warning from the United Nations that such attacks could violate international law. An annual report published by the UN mission in Afghanistan shows that the killing of civilian government employees is up 700%. A Taliban spokesperson says the government employees are not considered civilians, but criminal, and that killing them is considered an obligation.
America's new Secretary of State says the greatest threat to American foreign policy is not the unrest in the Middle East or even an emerging China. He says it's Congress. John Kerry made that assertion in a speech at the University of Virginia. He was addressing the issue of those looming budget cuts known as sequestration.
Now, I'm particularly aware that in many ways the greatest challenge to America's foreign policy today is in the hands not of diplomats, but of policymakers in Congress. It is often said that we cannot be strong at home if we're not strong in the world.
This was Kerry's first major foreign policy speech since taking over at the State Department.
Nearly a dozen Republican lawmakers joined the legal fight against the Obamacare contraception insurance mandate. 9 senators and 2 House members challenged the mandate by formally backing Hobby Lobby, a national chain of arts and crafts stores. Hobby Lobby's owners filed a lawsuit against the government, saying the mandate requires them to choose between their Christian beliefs and providing insurance for abortion-inducing drugs. Utah Senator Orrin Hatch led the group of lawmakers in filing a friend of the court brief on Hobby Lobby's behalf. The company is among the few corporations not granted temporary relief from the mandate by the courts.
New York Jets quarterback Tim Tebow is canceling an appearance at a Baptist megachurch in Dallas. That after gay activists and some in the media pressured Tebow to back out. They say the church's pastor, Robert Jeffress, leads a hate-filled ministry. The Christian Post reports Jeffress recently defended himself, saying to simply say that Jesus Christ offers salvation to anyone who believes in him and that sex should be between a man and woman and marriage, that should be considered hate speech? I don't understand. Tebow tweeted today that he was canceling the appearance due to, quote, new information that has been brought to my attention.
Another major winter storm is hitting the country. This one is in the heartland of America. 20 states are under winter storm watches or warnings tonight. The system is bringing more snow, ice, and even tornadoes in some places. And some scientists say global warming is behind these storms. Here's Ephraim Graham.
Residents of the central U.S. are stocking up on last-minute supplies today, bracing for up to a foot of snow.
Yeah, everybody's getting ready for the storm, and the lines are pretty long.
The massive snowstorm started in California. A mix of rain, snow, and wind making driving conditions dangerous.
I was trying to go down the street from my house, and I started to go sideways down the hill.
After we got hit here, we hit a car, then actually at least 7-8 cars hit us.
Officials in the Midwest fear this could be the worst storm in the nation's heartland in 2 years. Further to the south, severe weather is also possible. Forecasters predict tornadoes today across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. It is the second major storm to hit this winter, But global warming advocates say the huge amounts of snow actually prove the Earth is heating up. A new study from Princeton predicts global snowfall will shrink more than a foot over the next 50 years. But when it does snow, watch out.
Every once in a while, there's going to be a big storm, a kind of knockout punch.
Climatologists claim this is because a warmer atmosphere can hold the moisture. They predict most of that will come down as rain. But when it gets cold enough, it will turn into monster snowstorms.
So get out your snow shovels. Snowstorms with 2 or 3 feet that used to seem highly unusual, that may in fact become more typical.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Coming up, why a group of Christians could be facing the death penalty in Libya.
Ow, my feet hurt. My feet hurt, your feet hurt. White hot pain, I wanna cry. Is there anything I can try?
Why, yes! Introducing Strut Soul Angels, the human shock absorber that helps alleviate foot pain.
The first 10 steps in the morning to the bathroom were excruciating. Within 3 days after I put Struts on, it's been such a relief.
Slipped it on and almost immediately I felt a support, kind of like a pillow underneath my arches.
The Struts Soul Angel provides a great amount of relief and support throughout the course of the day, providing shock absorption and relief of pain.
On your feet without proper support can be painful. Strut Soul Angels promotes better balance, control, and body alignment. Standing in your heels all day is painful, but slip on Struts and you'll enjoy comfort and support 24/7. Struts is so versatile, you'll wear them in every shoe you own, even barefoot.
I'm on my feet all the time. I teach 11 and 12-year-olds. The pain was so much that I knew I had to do something. And with the Struts, I can do my job and enjoy my job.
I usually am on my feet from 8 to 12 hours a day. When I wear my Struts, it's like giving my feet a hug all day.
It's life-changing. I wear them from the minute I get up to the minute I go to bed.
Why pay $400 for custom orthotics?
Now get Strut Soul Angels for just $10. You also get Miracle Foot Repair Cream, absolutely free. Use it to help relieve dry, calloused feet overnight. But wait, call right now and we'll double the offer free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Plus, you get a 100% money-back guarantee. If not completely delighted, send it back. But keep the foot cream as our gift just for trying. You get it all. A $70 value for just $10.
Oh, yes! Love my Struts, love my Struts. The best thing since sliced bread. They heal pain from toes to head. Get yours now, your doctor said.
Struts. Be nice to your feet. Call now.
Call 1-800-787-1580 and get your Struts and Miracle Foot Repair for just $10 and we'll double the offer. That's 1-800-787-1580 or visit getstruts.com.
4 foreign missionaries are the target of the latest Christian persecution in Libya.
Libyan officials say they are accused of distributing Christian literature, and as Gary Lane reports, that is a charge that could carry the death penalty.
On Monday, we arrested a group. We found a print shop in Shabna area in Benghazi city. We found 45,000 Christian books.
The foreigners were reportedly printing pamphlets explaining Christianity. The material was mostly directed towards children. But proselytizing in Libya is a criminal offense, punishable by death, according to a law carried over from Muammar Gaddafi's reign.
We are a 100% Muslim country. This issue is not negotiable. It's prohibited to proselytize in Libya because it's an entirely Muslim country.
The 4 missionaries are in custody in Benghazi. The group is made up of a Swedish American, an Egyptian, a South African, and a South Korean. Libyan officials allowed Egyptian detainee Sharif Ramses to speak to the media. He says he was brought here from the moment they arrested him, and that he's been treated respectfully and not abused. Ramses went on to admit the group was in Libya to spread Christianity. An official presence said there were also espionage allegations against him because he refused to meet with anyone from his embassy. Ramses said he declined because he knew he would get little help from Egypt. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Florida's conservative Republican Senator Marco Rubio says Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. The fate of the city is one of the most divisive issues in the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. The Obama White House, like previous administrations, has refused to acknowledge it as Israel's capital. But in his first official visit to the country, Rubio met with the prime minister and the president in the Holy City. And he stated that he believes that Jerusalem belongs to Israel.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here in this city, which is, of course, the capital of your country, but the spiritual capital of millions of people around the world.
Rubio also reiterated America's bipartisan support for Israel.
Jerusalem's Israel Museum has unveiled the world's first exhibit dedicated to the life and legacy of King Herod the Great. It includes artifacts never seen before, and it shows why Herod is known as one of history's greatest builders. Chris Mitchell reports.
If you ask most Christians who was King Herod, they will likely answer he was the king who tried to kill the baby Jesus by ordering the slaughter of all boys under the age of 2. Ancient historians go on to describe King Herod as a great builder and a paranoid ruler who executed his wife and 3 sons. But museum director James Snyder says there's more to the story.
It focuses more on his achievement as a builder, and it focuses more on his capability as a diplomat, balancing the needs of empire with the needs of local culture.
During his ruling, there was peace in the country, and there was work for everyone. There was no disemployment, and then people live more or less in prosperity.
King Herod governed ancient Israel for 33 years under Roman rule. His most famous building project was the enlargement of the Temple Mount and the city of Jerusalem. Many of his building blocks were monumental stones like this one. Snyder says discovering Herod's tomb at Herodian 5 years ago triggered the exhibit.
That opened the opportunity to think across the whole of his history, the whole of his achievement. Jerusalem, Caesarea, Jericho, Masada, and of course Herodium, at first as a summer palace and then as a burial site.
We designed the exhibition like the people are going from Jericho to Herodion and talking about the person during the funeral procession, and then you can say everything that you think about the king, the good and the bad.
The intricate restoration included putting together what was believed to be Herod's sarcophagus from mere fragments, many the size of gravel. The exhibit includes mosaics, floors, and decors from Herod's palaces, jugs used to import wine, apples, and other food from Europe, and a VIP guest room at the top of his theater, likely used to entertain diplomatic guests. It's decorated with pictures of windows like this one that has taken nearly 3 years to reconstruct. There is also aerial footage of Herod's construction sites with 3D animation to show what his colossal buildings would have looked like. Snyder says it's the most ambitious archaeological exhibition ever undertaken by the museum. The $1 million exhibit will be on display until October. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, a look at the cross-country motorcycle run to honor America's fighting men and women.
Listen up for an amazing offer that can change the way you hear.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that?
Frustrated with your hearing?
What did he say?
Well, hear better now. Introducing the fully rechargeable MSA 30X, a revolutionary device that features the latest microsound amplification technology that can barely be seen. Independently tested to help you hear up to 30 times better. It turns ordinary hearing into extraordinary hearing. MSA 30X works by capturing and amplifying sound waves, yet its lightweight ergoacoustic design is discreet. It form-fits in and around either ear.
I forget I'm even wearing it.
And MSA 30X is powerful. Hear clearly in restaurants. Never miss another word on TV or at the movies.
My wife complains that I have the volume up on the TV too loud.
And I didn't want to be in the same room with them.
Now I can hear everything clearly.
Simply adjust the volume as you desire. Other units use so many batteries and they're difficult to change. But the MSA 30X is completely rechargeable. Simply plug it into the wall.
I tried other devices that had batteries, but they were always such a pain to change and so costly. But this is rechargeable, so I figure I save hundreds a year.
Bulky sound amplifiers can cost hundreds, but try MSA 30X for just $59.95 and we'll include a cleaning brush and 5 comfort tips. But wait, in this special TV offer, we'll cut the price in half. Now you can hear up to 30 times better for just $29.95. But there's even more. We'll double the offer free. Just pay additional processing and handling. Wear them both or give one to a loved one. Did you hear that? That's 2 MSA 30Xs for just $29.95. The MSA 30X Hear Better Now offer. Get 2 for just $29.95.
All I can say is just try it. It could change your life.
To order the MSA 30X sound amplifier, call 1-800-535-0654. That's 1-800-535-0654. Or you can go to MSA30X.com. Call or go online now.
Every year, motorcycle riders fire up their Harleys and ride from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. The ride is called Run for the Wall, and the purpose of it is to honor the nation's military veterans. Gary Bird is with a ministry called Mission M25, and he's the senior chaplain for the ride, and he joins us now to tell us all about it. Welcome, Gary.
Thanks for having us today, Mark.
Thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. Now, Mission M25, it's a ministry that reaches out to all kinds of groups, including bikers. You went on the Run for the Wall ride a few years ago and saw a need. Tell us about that.
Yeah, in 2005, I went halfway across the country, and I saw that there was all kinds of organizations out there thanking the veterans, honoring the soldiers. And, of course, our mission is to hold our country accountable for POWs and MIAs. And so as I was coming across, I saw the church was not out visually saying thank you. And so we began to ask God for a direction to make a difference on Run for the Wall.
And what exactly does Run for the Wall mean?
Well, it's a run from California all the way to D.C. That just means we're running to the Vietnam Wall all the way across this country.
All the way to the Vietnam Wall.
Yes.
Okay. And so you are now the group's senior chaplain. Talk about the ministry, first of all, the spiritual ministry you've been able to do among the riders. Because at first, you guys weren't welcome, were you?
No, it wasn't real good at the beginning. But the Lord gave us the words, be a light, not a mouth. And we wear this slogan, Bolnam, on all of our vests. And we believe that they should ask us to pray for them. So spiritually, we just go out, we serve them water. We serve about 13,000 bottles of water and sports drink all the way across the country. Then we pick up motorcycles and wrecks and people and take them to the hospitals and pray with them and connect them with their families. And so we do a lot of things just in service. Matthew 5:14 through 16. We just being a service to them. And then I actually had one guy ask me, he says, I asked him, I said, what's wrong? And he said, well, I had so much bitterness in me from when I came back from Vietnam, and it's eating me up. And the short of the story is, I just asked him, what can I do to help you? And he said, would you pray for me?
Wow.
And I said, when? He said, right now. And this last year, when I got to Los Angeles, he picked me up, hugged me, and they call me Shepherd. Yeah. And he says, Shepherd, I'm free. Thank God I'm free from the bitterness.
Praise God.
So
that's what it's all about.
It is. It is.
Well, the group also did a ride in Israel a year or so ago to honor IDF veterans. Do you plan to do that again?
Yes, we do. We plan on going this October, 21 through 31. And we take these little bandanas and we hand it to all of the soldiers. We handed about 1,200 of them out. And when the recent battle down in the Gaza Strip happened, I got emails saying we're holding on to our bandana because that bandana has the soldier's prayer both in Hebrew and in English on it. And so we handed those out, just loved on those soldiers. Mark, one of the incredible things was that we had the privilege of standing with Orthodox Jews, secular Jews, Arabs, all people, IDF soldiers, us as Christians in black leather in front of the Western Wall. And we broke bread together, took the wine, and then we had a Christian prayer. It just blew that nation away.
Wonderful.
Just an incredible
wonderful
opportunity.
Well, overall now, how is your message, your ministry of Jesus Christ being received by the veterans and the riders?
You know, they embrace us so much now. You know, it was just a few that were so offended because that they weren't welcomed by the church and by anybody. back when they came home. And we are so embraced and so loved on Run for the Wall, and we have so much opportunity to minister to them out there. And, you know, out of this whole thing has come a thing that we went to Canada this last year and stood with the Jews there, rode our motorcycles. The motorcycles are like a spear head, and they just break open the walls, and we can go in, share our heart. That's what they're needing. They don't need another story. They just need our heart.
That's right.
And we stood on Parliament Hill and prayed a Christian prayer that there would never be a Holocaust again. Wow. And we're going to do that again in Dallas this year.
Wonderful. We commend your efforts. Gary Bird with Mission M25. Thanks again for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
All right. God bless you,
God
sir.
bless you.
And you can find out more about Gary and what he's doing by going to our website, of course, at cbnnews.com.
Up next, why microchips are being used in one of the most basic of surgical tools.
When you're driving along and your cell phone rings, do your eyes instantly go off the road? Then you need to get a grip. Hi, David Jones here with the new GripGo, the most versatile hands-free mount that will instantly grip any phone for safe driving. Just attach the suction cup to your windshield or dash, and GripGo grabs your phone ultra fast. Then it peels right off. And don't worry, there's no sticky residue left behind. The 360-degree pivoting mount allows you to always get the perfect viewing angle. It's even strong enough to grab and hold this expensive smartphone out the window. Yet it comes right off with ease. That's the advantage of GripGo. You can get the amazing GripGo with dashboard mount for only $14.95. We'll send you a second kit free. Just pay separate processing and handling. Get 2 complete GripGo systems for just $14.95.
To order GripGo for $14.95 plus processing and handling, call 1-800-709-5259 or order online at getgripgo.com.
John Mapes is 42, mortgage, married, 2 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. John can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $25 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll search the pick of insurers like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. John's wife, Carrie, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or visit SelectQuote.com.
You may have heard the horror stories from the surgery room.
Patients leaving the operating table with more than they started with.
I've heard about people leaving surgical, they quit me behind.
Yeah, believe it or not, every year nearly 4,000 objects are left inside patients after surgery. That's scary. Usually sponges and gauze, which can cause infections. But now there's a solution. Researchers are implanting microchips and metallic thread into sponges and gauze.
This chip inside is the new technology, and this helps ensure that there's no sponges left in the body.
That reassures me very much that everything is going to go just fine.
It's very quick, and it gives us all the information we need instantaneously.
At the end of every procedure, the surgeon can now wave a wand over the area. If it beeps, something has been left inside.
And I'm looking into those microchips for my house and socks. I'm thinking that could be revolutionary.
Very true. You come up with a mate, that's longing for
there we go.
Another sock.
Lots of applications.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all for this edition of NewsWatch.
Remember, you can email us your comments and questions at newswatch@cbn.com. Hope you'll join us next time.
Good night.